Hey guys, welcome back to episode number 5 in the Founder to CEO series that is focused on one of your 4 Ps, and that is your people. Today, we're going to talk about when you should coach someone, when you should clarify what performance looks like, and when you should learn to let them go. Keeping someone around on your team that isn't performing, that is actually not helpful to you, it's not helpful to your business, and it's going to bring up a lot of questions on your team. And not handling it in the right way, that's what keeps a lot of founders stuck and acting as the bottleneck to their own business. So in this video today, I'm going to show you how to make the decision on whether you should coach, clarify, or let someone go without any sort of guilt, drama, or second guessing of yourself. As I just said, this is episode number 5, the last and final episode in this series around your people. So if you haven't watched any of the other 4 episodes, I do highly recommend that you go and do that first. Episode number 1 is around how to successfully onboard your virtual assistant or your new team member. Episode number 2 is around how to set up your systems so that you don't have to micromanage your team and you have visibility into what it is that they're doing. Episode number 3 is around how to have effective one-on-ones to help coach them to performance. And episode number 4 is around how to set up your async communication agreements so that you're not constantly getting pinged with questions at every single minute of the day. And so I think it's highly important that you watch those 4 episodes so that you can make sure that you have been crystal clear in the outcomes that you want to create, in what performance looks like in their role and how they can be successful. Because if we determine we've been clear, we've determined that we have been coaching to performance and that there's still an issue that we haven't resolved, that's when it's time to start asking these questions around whether or not they're a good fit for your team. Many founders avoid the decision of whether or not someone is a good fit for their team and their culture that they're wanting to build within their business for a really long time. And they do this for many different reasons. One is that they're afraid they're being a bad leader if they let someone go, or they're afraid they're not being nice, that they haven't given them enough chances. They have some guilt around the income impact to them personally, or they hope things will actually magically improve in the future. A lot of times it is very confusing whether or not you are being kind to someone or whether you're being a good leader if you come to the decision that, again, they're just not a good fit for what it is that you're trying to build. But avoiding a decision, it doesn't protect anyone. It actually just prolongs the confusion within your business. It creates a lot of questions for any additional team members that you have, and it's going to really drag you down mentally as you start to question yourself and, again, what it is that they're doing on their side of the table. The kindest thing you can actually do to that person is to let them know what you're seeing in their performance so that they can grow both personally and professionally, and so that they understand in the future, if it doesn't work out, why that happened. So if there's an issue around performance and whether or not someone is a good fit, it usually falls into one of 3 buckets. The first one is there a clarity problem? Have you been crystal clear in the role, the responsibilities that you expect them to handle, in what success looks like, around the outcomes that you expect them to achieve within your business? If it's a clarity problem, well, then that's easily fixed. We can start to work on how to get crystal clear in each of those things so that your VA or your employee knows what it is to be successful in their role. The second thing that I see come up pretty often is it's a coaching problem. You're having those one-on-ones that are built around idle chit chat, talking about their personal lives, building your relationship, but you're not having the one-on-ones that are focused on the outcomes that you want to create and how to create them. You're not having the one-on-ones that are actually going to coach your team to performance. Again, that is something that we can easily fix with some good foundational focus and assets that we can put into place. And then the third thing that comes up is a capability problem. That's not as easily fixed. That's not something that we can coach around. And if you don't have time to hold out for their growth into the future, then it might be that they're just not a good fit for what it is. And so you have to look at whether or not the performance related issue falls into one of these 3 things before you can start to decide how it is that you're going to move forward. Look, your job's not to assess this from an emotional standpoint. It's to diagnose the problem so that we can find the best solution. So let's talk a little bit now about each of these different buckets. Bucket number 1, clarity. This is the one I see come up actually most common, and it is the founder's responsibility to resolve it. Again, you haven't been clear in the role or the responsibilities or what success looks like. Maybe your priorities shifted and you didn't communicate this clearly to the team member. Maybe you weren't explicit in the metrics that you're using to define success. Whatever it is, again, these are something that we can easily resolve. We can reset our outcomes or redefine them for the team member. We can make sure that we are clear and we're confirming the priorities that we're trying to achieve. And we can reestablish our agreements and the metrics that we're using to measure the success. I mean, the truth is, you cannot hold someone accountable to something that you have never clearly explained or identified to them. But the good news is, this is the easiest one to solve. Now, moving on to bucket number 2 around coaching. Again, this is something that we can actually easily resolve. And I do see this one come up pretty frequently as well. This is really more of a leadership issue. It's not natural to know how to coach to performance. It's not natural to have one-on-ones that are focused on outcomes and not, listing out the tasks that we've completed, exactly what we did last week, and building a personal relationship. But when you do start to have those effective one-on-ones, when you do start to really enable the coaching that's going to lead to greater performance, that's when you open up the team to the possibility of success. Look, coaching is a time investment on your part, and time is our only irreplaceable asset. So you want to spend it wisely. We want to make sure we are spending it focused on their growth and on them helping you to achieve the success that you want within your business. Now, bucket number 3, that's the most difficult one for most founders to face because it's a capability issue. And when it's a capability issue, there's not usually a good resolution to the problem at hand other than to let the person go. And there can be a number of reasons that this happens. People do outgrow roles, or roles do outgrow people. You might hire someone right now to handle operations within your business that can't handle it when you get to $10 million. Maybe that person didn't have the experience that was needed. Maybe their resume was a little bit flubbed on their side and they just didn't have the adequate experience to be able to produce what you needed within your business. Maybe there are still repeated issues even after you've clarified, after you've coached for several weeks. Maybe the same issues are coming up on repeat. Or maybe you're having to compensate for them inadequately performing within their role on repeat. When you're saying it's just easier if I do this myself than to explain it to them, then they're not helping to free you up. And that means that this is probably not going to be a long-term solution to the problem at hand of getting you 10 to 20 hours of your week back so that you can learn to be the CEO of your business and operate in the way that you need to. Look, someone can be really great at a particular role, but maybe not this role. You need to have those open, honest conversations both with yourself around their performance and with them. And when you're starting to realize that this is a possibility, you've got to have a clean decision mechanism in place. You've got to be able to clearly communicate what exactly it is that you're seeing happening. And you've got to be able to have respectful closure around the fact that it's probably time for both of you to part ways. As I said in the very first video in this series, when you're hiring someone new, when you're hiring a virtual assistant or a new team member for your team, I would use the 90-day rule as the time period by which to make this first decision on whether you need to clarify, coach, or you have a capability issue and you need to part ways. After you've spent about 3 months with someone, you do know if they're going to work out on your team or not generally. So I would use that as your time window. If it's an existing team member that's been around for a long time and your business is just growing beyond their capabilities, again, I just would have that honest conversation both with yourself and with them. Maybe there's a different role for them within your business, or maybe there's not. And again, it's time for you to let go and to part ways and for them to find something that aligns better with what it is that they want to do. Letting go of the wrong people can be one of the hardest but best decisions that you make as you step into that new role of CEO, because it's going to protect your energy. It's going to protect your team culture in the long run. It's going to protect the business as a whole, and it's going to protect that individual and that team member from being stuck in the wrong role for a long period. That's not good for them. It creates a lot of friction internally for them when they don't feel like they are actually performing. So it's really beneficial to both of you to be really honest with yourself and with them, and to create the possibility of a very successful closure to this chapter in your relationship. I hope that helped to answer the question of when to coach, clarify, and when to let someone go. This is the final video in this particular Founder to CEO series that's focused on your people. We really want to make sure that you are clear in how to start hiring people effectively so that you can better leverage your time for real growth personally and within your business. If you didn't watch any of the other 4 videos, make sure you go back and you do that now. if this series resonated and you're ready for some deeper leadership work, then you can actually apply for one-on-one coaching with me. The link to that is in the description. Again, I also lead a free monthly live training every single month. So the link to that is also in the description. Please be sure to click that and I will send you out the invite to the next one. Leadership isn't about being comfortable. It's about creating leverage. It's about getting to the place that you know you want to go. It's about building your $1 million plus business. And I am super excited to see what it is that you want to build in the future.